Well, hello and welcome to our live coverage of President Park Geun-hye. She is about to depart for Iran for a 3-day state visit. It's going to be the first visit by a South Korean leader to that country in 54 years. So a real huge diplomatic event. You can see President Park Geun-hye already climbing up the steps there onto Air Force One at Seoul Air Base in Songnam, Gyeonggi-do province. She is going to be heading there for 3 days. This is a huge business trip, in fact. The delegation will be going with her, a big business delegation, as well as, of course, lots of business leaders hoping to secure billions of dollars worth of deals for Korea. Hopefully this can be very productive for the nation in a great many ways, of course. So, yes, you just saw her getting on the plane, and with her, all the journalists and business leaders, over 230 business leaders, not only from the country's conglomerates, but from small and mid-sized businesses looking to get involved in Iran's infrastructure projects now that the country is no longer under some of the toughest international sanctions for essentially abandoning its nuclear weapons program, something President Park Geun-hye might touch upon with the leaders of Iran to try and get some advice from them on what to do with North Korea, because of course Iran and North Korea have had somewhat of a strong diplomatic relationship for some time.